Right. Welcome everyone to the Let's Talk webinar. We are Amber and Jared Smithson, and we're coming to you live from Utah, rainy Utah.
Not winter.
No, we haven't had a winter. Everyone else in the whole country gets winter but us this year. And if you looked at all the pictures in our intro video, I think it's a good like montage of our life. Weddings, playing pickleball, and working, right?
Yep. And a little bit of volleyball in there. I saw someone coming in from Pottstown, Pennsylvania, one of the biggest grass volleyball tournaments in the country. I want to go hit that someday.
100%. So what are we talking about today? So this is actually a brand new topic that, I mean, we've talked about it 100,000 times, but every first Monday of the month, we've started that we're going to be talking about beyond the reset. Because, you know, a lot of times we get really locked in to, I want to lower my body fat percentage, or I want to lose weight, or I need to get focused. And then we kind of lose sight of what comes after that.
Yeah. And we've been living beyond the reset for almost 2 decades, right? So we've been utilizing what people have affectionately called transition and maintenance and optimization and whatever other good words you want to use for the process. Refine. It's called lifestyle. It's called routine. It's called what am I going to do every single day for the rest of my life? Because it doesn't matter what you want to be successful at. The great Phil Jackson, in all of his years with the Bulls, he said, we had a philosophy that success only happens at the moment of a successful act. If you want success to continue, you have to continue to engage in consistent, successful acts. So we're going to talk about what those successful acts look like.
100%. And okay, so let's jump into it. So Jared and I have been coaching for 17 years this month.
Yeah.
It's our coach anniversary. Yeah, our coach anniversary is this month, in fact. And oh, we got some confetti. Oh, I feel so celebrated right now. If you haven't done a celebration call with your coach lately, do that. It makes you feel good. No. But let's talk a little bit about like a day in the life of just like when you are in your weight loss phase, when you are focusing on lowering the numbers on the scale, whether that's body fat percentage or weight or your visceral fat or the things like that.
So a couple days ago, Amber's like, people get confused. This graph is actually in a circle most of the time. And she's like, people can't understand the circle. And I'm like, well, it's like a claw. Right?
I just figured if you tried a different way of the same information,
totally.
Sometimes you get it.
I understand it both ways. But here's the 24 hours in a day, right? All of us are fasting, hopefully for 7 to 9 hours every single night while we're sleeping. And that's why we call breakfast, because you're breaking the fast every single day. So this is the foundational principle of Dr. A's plan for all these years, right? Of the habits of health. We're teaching people to eat, to fuel their bodies every 2 to 3 hours for the rest of our lives, carb protein balance, right?
Yeah, so why do we do this?
Well,
just to bug them.
Yeah. In the first Habits of Health, which Habits of Health was what sold us on Optavia.
Yeah.
Amber's mom is our coach, and she brought us the Habits of Health at Christmas time in 2008, and we consumed that book in a few days. And one of the studies that Dr. A shared back then that was always one of our favorites was University of Toronto, David Jenkins
study,
talking about fueling every 2 to 3 hours with carb protein balance. And what they did was they took 2 groups of people. They fed them exactly the same calories, but one group was split into 3 meals, 3 traditional meals, so obviously more calories at each meal. And then the other group was fed every 3 hours, 6 meals.
Yeah, same food, same calories. So get this. The group that ate the 6 times a day versus the 3 times a day, they lost more weight.
2 times more.
I'll let you do this because you're good with the numbers.
No, more than 2 times, a little bit more than 2 times as much. Reduction in blood glucose levels and cholesterol by 15 and 28%. Okay, so that is statistically significant. Same calories, same foods, broken down into smaller meals.
Okay, so hopefully you're a believer. Eat 6 times a day. But is that the whole story? Because here's the thing, I always thought like the whole story was just your calories. Like you gotta eat less than what you gotta input less than you output, right? Like it just makes sense. It's mathing. And I like math. I like to math. But then this proves it's more than just the calories in, calories out. It's the balance of the blood sugar. Okay, so my mind was actually blown later in our coaching career when we actually had one more piece added onto this that made so much sense. So on this next slide, here we go. NPS, what does that stand for? I actually was talking to a client about NPS earlier, and she was like, what's the acronym or how do I say it? And I just said, remember this, NPS is better than PMS. And she was like, I will always remember it now. So NPS, muscle protein synthesis. Now, when you add this on to the 6 times a day, then it really brings more clarity into what we are doing here.
Yeah, so MPS or muscle protein synthesis, we want to aim for total protein during the day, but it's also in order to activate protein synthesis, it's actually through a process in our body called mTOR, right? So you have to have the right amount of essential amino acids and particularly branched chain amino acids, more than 2.5 grams of leucine, okay, in a protein to activate that MPS, okay? Or you have to engage in some pretty intense exercise in order to activate mTOR, okay? So it's much, much easier to activate muscle protein synthesis through using food than it is through exercise. So it's great to also do it through exercise. I'm a huge proponent of exercise. However, I focus on using protein intake to activate that protein synthesis so that I can get the most out of my exercise.
Yeah. Well, and if you activate some more during exercise, that's great. But it's hard to know. Like, I don't know about you, but for me, it's hard to know. Did I really like hit it hard enough in the gym to activate that muscle protein synthesis? I'm going to take the guesswork out. I'm going to activate it with how I'm eating. And then I'm also going to work out, and that's going to be way better. Okay, so MPS 3 times a day. So you kind of can see that in between the muscle protein synthesis events, you're still fueling, and that's the small protein carb balanced. We use our fuelings in Optavia. And let's have the next fly-in come in now, Chris.
So how do we create the MPS? Optavia has given us some fantastic tools that are specifically formulated for MPS. So our essential amino acids, the research, 2.5 grams of leucine, but there's a law of diminishing returns, okay? So the science shows that 1.4 times is that 2.5 grams of leucine is where it starts to diminish. So it's not like, oh, if 1 scoop is good, then 5 scoops is way better. No, it's actually only 3.5 grams is where it starts to diminish additional benefits. So what did Optavia do? They put in 3.5 grams of leucine. They put in the max for that. So those EAAs are a fantastic way of activating protein synthesis.
Yeah. And then midday, you could use the EAAs again, or you could use our whey protein, also formulated for muscle protein synthesis. Now, this is what I like to point out to clients is, there's all kinds of protein powders and even essential amino acids that you could find on Amazon. And you pretty much usually don't know how they're formulated, what is in them, especially if it has some sort of blend on their ingredients list. And so what I know is that Optavia has done the research, they put in the time so that these products are formulated for muscle protein synthesis. So beginning of the, I like to do EAAs beginning of the day, and I do my hot cocoa. This is my second hot cocoa. Side note, we used to sell these mugs, and I'm so glad that I bought 4 of them because we stopped selling them, and it's my favorite mug. That was just a side note. So EAAs with the fueling, whey protein, and then you have your lean and green.
Someone asked in the chat, a whey protein with a fueling? No, the whey protein would replace a fueling if you're on any form of the 5-in-1 plan. That whey protein would replace. EAAs are an addition to.
Yeah, talk to your coach.
Yeah, talk to your coach.
Which plan that you're doing specifically. So then you're lean and green. The other way to get muscle protein synthesis is by having enough meat. So having enough chicken or fish or beef or whatever it is that you're having. And this is why, I don't know how many of you have ever heard, like, you need to get like over 100 grams of protein in the day, and you want to get a meal with 30 grams of protein, but you're just like sitting there going like, why? Like, why? What is with these numbers? Why are they telling me this? Because total protein in the day matters, but also getting enough protein at one time matters for the muscle protein synthesis. And so the lean and green amount, you're going to be good to go. Optavia, they knew this like 20 years ago. How long have they been a company?
25?
25 years ago. Yeah. 25 years ago, they knew this. And this is why they set those amounts for protein. Like, that actually blew my mind because they have been thinking about this. This has been a thing for a really long time. Even if you're only having your lean and green and 5 fuelings, at least you are getting that muscle protein synthesis for that lean and green amount.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's go to the next. All right, so in between your muscle protein synthesis, this is where the fuelings come in. They're already perfectly protein carb balanced, low glycemic, low calorie, high fiber. They already have the vitamins, minerals, and probiotics. Like, it's just the perfect thing of what your body needs and nothing extra that it doesn't need.
So when Amber and I first got married, we were super poor college students and stuff, and we got an apartment without a dishwasher. And the several months that we lived there, we're like, oh, life will be so perfect when we can rent an apartment or get a house with a dishwasher.
First world problems.
First world problems, right? And we got that dishwasher, and you know what? It was really good.
I loved it.
So beautiful.
I still use the dishwasher to this day.
Yeah, totally. And we're empty nesters now. So we only run the dishwasher maybe every other day or something like that because we just don't have that many dishes. But, well, lots of blender bottles in our household, and lots of hot cocoa mugs and water bottles.
Absolutely.
But that dishwasher is a tool. Guess what we never went back to? We never went back to hand washing our dishes all the time, right? When I turned 16, I graduated from riding a bike to a lot of places in my life to getting a car, and I used that technology to expand my world, right? And so we can go back to the slides, Chris, but
and it's okay. Someone said in the chat, I still hand wash my dishes. That's okay.
Totally.
It's okay to hand wash your dishes too.
Yeah.
They're still getting clean.
Yeah.
The point is that
you have options.
You do have options. Okay. So on the next slide, let's talk a little bit about what happens when you're not in the weight loss phase anymore.
And let me say this too. I've had so many people that are like, I'm back on. I'm back on program, right? Well, we've had clients for 17 years. They've been in weight loss phase, many of them, multiple times. And one of the things that we have conversations with them about all the time is, no, you're just still on your journey. Sometimes you might be in a fat loss phase, a fat loss focus. You might be in a weight loss focus. Sometimes you're in a muscle building focus. Sometimes you are in just a maintenance focus, right? But the principles remain the same in any phase that you're in.
Yeah. Let's say that tomorrow there is a volcano that erupts in your backyard and you're stressed out and you're just like, you know what? I just don't think that I can focus right now on like my weight loss phase and like lowering the body fat percentage. Okay. What do? It's on the screen, guys. The long-term strategy does not change. You still want to eat 6 times a day. You still want to get muscle protein synthesis 3 times a day. You still want to balance that blood sugar. Like it does not change. So let's blow up some of these let's blow this up. So you could go to the store and you can make your protein carb balance snacks. You can get like some Greek yogurt and some apples and string cheese and avocados, or whatever you want. Like honestly, you can wash your dishes by hand and it's great. And you can mix and match. You can sometimes wash your dishes by hand and then sometimes use your dishwasher as well. And so if you are not in that weight loss phase, you're not in the reset, right? It's okay. Or you can mix and match and use Optavia Fuelings, even though you're not in your reset. You could just use them because they're grab and go healthy foods that are in your cupboard already. And that makes it very convenient. But I still, to this day, I still take my EAAs for breakfast. I do my Optavia hot cocoa for breakfast too, because
It's delicious.
it's delicious. Every morning I go, do I have to eat this for the rest of my life?
And I always say, you don't have to, but you'll be miserable if you don't.
And I say, but I want to, so I'm going to keep doing it.
So let me add this here. If you're not in a reset phase, and for the rest of your life, it is critical because Amber's like, it's not just calories in, calories out. But calories in, calories out is a thing.
It matters.
If you are eating surplus calories, you will gain weight, period.
Math.
It is math. This, our health has usually like, oh, I'm never going to use math again. Yes. If you want to stay healthy the rest of your life, you're going to have to know some basic arithmetic. You're going to need to know your base metabolic rate, and you're going to need to know your total daily energy expenditure. Your base metabolic rate plus the activity that you're doing during your day that's adding up. So let's say you're eating your total daily energy expenditure is 2,000 calories. I'm using that simply because that's what resides on most of the labels. I will tell you this, that there's a huge percentage of this country that does not need 2,000 calories a day. Their total daily energy expenditure is 1,500, 1,600, 1,700. So it's critical that you know what your total energy expenditure is. Okay?
100%.
And Dr. A even says this in The Habits of Health, that it is advisable to stay around 85% of your total daily energy expenditure. Why? Because most people, if you're not literally weighing and measuring everything that you put in your mouth, most people are underestimating the calories. So if you think that you're staying under a little bit, you're probably closer to right on.
Yeah, and I don't know if I ever finished my thought earlier, but the reason they say 30 grams of protein is because typically that is enough leucine, and that is going to give you all of the essential amino acids that your body needs to create muscle protein synthesis. Well, so the essential amino acids, they aren't technically 30 grams of protein. but they are technically enough leucine and all of the essential amino acids to create muscle protein synthesis. So if you think about it like, oh, that kind of like counts for 30 grams of protein, it's not going to say 30 grams of protein on the label, but it's going to give you that MPS. So I don't think I ever finished my thought on
very
that.
good clarification.
And then the lean and let's go to the next blow up here. Lean and Green Plus. Okay, so you're not in a weight loss phase, you're not targeting body fat percentage right now. Great. You can go to the Lean and Green Plus. This incorporates things like fruit and grains, and it's a healthy meal. It's like the 9-inch plate where half of your plate is fruits and veggies, and then you got your protein still, and you might have a starch of some sort. So this is a really great plan long term, no matter what. And then sometimes you're like, hey, the volcano stopped erupting in my backyard. Maybe I'm ready to focus again. Then you can go right back in to your plan using your feelings and being a little more focused. That's okay. Like, it's just think of it as this is what I do. I eat 6 times a day. I protein carb balance. I have MPS 3 times a day.
Yep. Not PMS.
Not PMS. Sometimes. Okay, I had a slide on this and I totally forgot. But here's the thing: maintain your strategy. Okay, because you still want to balance your blood sugar. You still want to be protecting and or growing your muscles because that's so important for your metabolic health. You still want to drink your water. You still want to move your body. Like, just focus on keeping status quo until you're ready to focus again. And here's the thing. I'll go back, Chris. I'm not ready to be done with this slide. Is when you do have times where you're like super stressed out. I joke about a volcano, but I know that there are real things that pop up in all of our lives every day that could throw you off your game. And you know, sometimes you just stick to your eating plan, even though like the crap's hitting the fan, like maybe you just stick to it. And that's definitely an option as well. But here's the thing is that is your stress test. Like that is the time where you go, wow, how are my habits right now? Like, where am I at? How did I do with eating 6 times a day? How did I do with getting my muscle protein synthesis? Where did my water drinking go? Did I get to the gym? How about my sleep? Like you start like, did I hide from my coach? Right? Did I go in the cave? That's your stress test to go, how are my habits? Because it's not like how your habits are doing when everything's going your way. It's like when that stress test comes up, that is your time to learn and see where I need to strengthen.
Well, that stress test, when you push someone's limits is when you see their nature. I'll say it again. When you push someone's limits, that's when you see their nature. If you've been struggling, if any of us have been struggling with our health for a long time, it is our nature that got us there. It is our habits that got us there. And if you want a different, consistent, long-term result, then we have to change our nature. So it's critical. The thing that in those moments of stress test, like Amber just said, do not ghost your coach. That's when you lean in and say, hey, I'm not ready right now to focus on reset, but I want to maintain my strategy. I want to continue checking in and being accountable of the strategy that I'm keeping. Those things, not necessarily staying in reset, it's staying consistent with the strategy that is going to create the new nature.
Yeah, the problems come when it's like black or white, all or nothing, reset or pizza and donuts. Like, let's talk about pizza and donuts, actually, Chris. I'm ready for that slide. I'm so ready. Okay, what about dessert? Okay, Because this is what I hear this question all the time. Does that mean I can never eat dessert again? Dessert wasn't on your last slide, Amber. Well, let's talk about this because I just don't see foods as like bad foods or good foods, or it's just like what's going to support my goals right now. Guess what? Sometimes people, their goal is to gain weight. Like I actually know quite a few. And maybe they want to eat some desserts to help gain those calories. That's like a small amount of food with lots and lots of calories. So that can be really helpful if you're trying to gain weight, right? But here's the thing is sometimes we go, well, I got to eat that in moderation, right? Well, I don't know. What's moderation for you?
And it depends on what your goal is. If you want to gain weight, then you can eat as much of it as you want.
Yep. Because, like Jared said, it's math. We still have to fit within our caloric limit. And, like, how could you balance that? How could you balance that dessert? It's probably high carbohydrate or high fat, if I would guess, most desserts.
Yep.
How can we get some protein with that? Literally, we taught this to our children at a young age. And still to this day, if we have a dessert, then they will go and they will get like a chocolate shake, a protein shake, and they will drink it right after they ate their dessert because it helps even out their blood sugar. They don't feel as bad. Their blood sugar isn't doing the big dips and spikes. And the other thing about it is what's your mindset about the entire day? Because here's one side of the spectrum where they go, well, I ate that dessert. I might as well just like eat XYZ and do whatever all weekend because I'm just going to start on Monday. What if your mindset was on the exact opposite of that spectrum and it sounded more like this? I'm not like in a weight loss phase right now, and I'm planning on eating grandma's special berry pie later. So how would I put that into my overall plan for the entire day? Well, I would start with my muscle protein synthesis for breakfast. I would probably eat some Feelings. I would probably make a little more tight choices on my dinner. Maybe I'm not going to get that brown rice. I'm just going to eat that salmon and that broccoli because I'm planning on having a little bit of that pie later and I want it to fit within my caloric limit. I want to balance my blood sugar and have some protein with it. And I'm not considering it a bad food, that I'm a bad person, or that I even made bad choices.
Well, I'll even change it from that because a lot of times people just look at desserts as bad foods, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's any high calorie dense food, right? Nut butters are one of my favorites to talk about, right? Nut butters are not protein. A good rule of thumb for protein, if it's a good protein source, is add a 0 to it and it shouldn't have more calories than that. So if you have 10 grams of protein, it shouldn't be more than about 100 calories, right? Nut butters are 2 tablespoons, that's not very much, for 190 calories and typically about 5 to 7 grams of protein. It's more of a fat source than it is. I'm not saying it's bad. I love nut butters. I use nut butters, but I make sure that things like that are very calorie dense, they still fit within my caloric limits.
Okay, we have 1 minute left. Next slide, Chris. All right. Yep. We're just gonna skip this one. All right. Okay, so the moral of the story is stay plugged into the community, follow the principles, and just don't think like after the reset is like this like thing you don't know. It's what you're doing right now.
It's what you're doing.
100%. So we would love for you to join tomorrow. We have Dr. A's Conscious Leadership Forum, and it's the first Tuesday of every month it's like 10 a.m. my time,
Yep.
noon Eastern.
Noon Eastern. Yep.
Noon Eastern. And that's always a really great thing to join.
And then next week is our very own Chris Pettit and Jen Brown, who will be leading Let's Talk.
Yeah, choices versus cheating. I'm interested in this topic.
I know that Chris is talking about choices. His choice to use Costco pizza as a dessert.
Don't start that again.
Hey, my coach told me that there's like 20 grams of protein in a slice of cheese pizza. I'm just saying.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Have a great week. Keep getting your MPS.